guys, welcome to your midweek week 2 video. I'm shooting this video because I want to talk more about the discussion board. I just want you to know that I'm reading your work and I'm engaging with your work, and I wanted you to know that early enough so that you feel like you can keep going and get the rest of this discussion board finished. I just want to do a little shout out to McKay, Chris, and Millie Grace. You guys are the 3 people who have actually participated in this discussion board. It's Thursday. I'm not super concerned because I think that's why I don't love discussion boards, because most people wait until the last minute to do it. But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for starting early and getting us started, because I think you've really given us the foundation for a good rubric, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm just going to go in and point out a couple of comments and talk more about a couple things, and then show you what I've created based on what you've said here. So I think that in talking about an A paper and talking about some of your ideas, like McKay, you brought up organization, and I think that you're totally right. And you also talk about knowledge, the writer's knowledge and the writer's effort. And I want to know more about that. Like, how would we evaluate that? So if we're going to say, and many of you say that the writer needs to show that they're knowledgeable, how do you do that? So if an A essay shows that we are really knowledgeable, where does it show that? Is it in the thesis statement? Is it in the logic of the language? Is it in what you're saying? And what criteria should I evaluate in order to understand that you guys are knowledgeable on your subjects? So I want to know more about that. And then Chris, you talked about transitions in yours. You kind of made a little joke at the end, and I think that we should add that to our rubric because I think it's a great idea. You have great transitions, and so let's talk about those. And what everybody's kind of talking about so far is this concept of style and voice and tone, and so I want to spend some more time in this A category talking about that. So what's the difference between style, voice, and tone in an A essay and in a B essay? Because and in an F essay, I mean, does an F essay just have you sound like a robot or a zombie or something like that? So I want to know more about what you guys are meaning when you say style, voice, tone, those types of things, because you both were talking about it in here. So I'm curious to know more. And of course, you don't have to respond. Anyone from the class can say, I think maybe style should refer to this or tone should refer to this. So I want to know more about that. And then let me just go through a few more of these. You guys really talked a lot about the B category. Actually, no, I think just one person did, but there were a lot of ideas in the B category, and I think you brought us strong ideas, Chris. And the B category is one of the hardest ones because the B category essay can be so close to an A, but it can also be really close to a C. And so it's like, well, where is this essay at, and how do we narrow that down? But yeah, you've given us some really good ideas to think about here. So for those of you watching this video, if you haven't commented yet, the B category really needs more discussion. I mean, all of these do because only 3 people have commented yet, but the B category needs a lot of help here. So go in there and talk more about what a B essay looks like. Why is a B essay not an A essay, I guess, is really what I want to know. So I think it's the C category that everybody really liked to talk about in addition to the A category. So we have these ideas here about the C is just the minimum. And I think, Millie Reese, you're totally right. The C essay, it's average, it's basic, I did what I needed to do to get by. And let's talk about more of that. What does a I'm just getting by thesis statement look like? What does an I'm just getting by conclusion look like? Because I think that those are some really good points too. I guess not that many people want to talk about the C essay either. Nobody wanted to talk about the D essay, so that is perfectly fine. We'll skip that. But people did want to talk about the F essay, maybe a couple people, me and Millie Grace and Chris. So you guys both touched on something that I really want to talk about, which is effort, because I think that effort is difficult to judge. It's easy to notice when someone is putting in no effort because you're going to get ridiculous errors that anyone who's even proofreading their essay would not make those errors. You're going to get silly mistakes here and there, and you can tell that it's just a first draft turned in. Although, Chris, I like what you're saying, that a first draft doesn't necessarily mean a failing draft, and you're totally right. People turn in first drafts all the time and get C's and B's because some writers can just do that with their first draft. I mean, some people's first drafts is not up to par by any standard. But what about effort? I mean, I could write a thesis statement in 5 minutes and put in very little effort, and it would be a really good thesis statement because I am good at that. That's something that I can do. That's something I've been doing for a long time. So it's easy to judge effort when there's no effort being put into something, and you can see that in terms of the errors and the failures and the mistakes, but it's really hard to judge when someone has put in a ton of effort and done a really good job because someone else could have put in no effort and also done a really good job. So I think that we have to reassess how we look at effort, because we can't just say you tried really hard, and someone can try really hard but still not do very well. And the point of evaluating is evaluating the output, not the effort. Okay, so let's take a peek at something that I have created based on your preliminary ideas here. I put together a little rubric for you guys. And it's showing what we have to talk about, what has not been talked about. Like a lot of the C and D category, nobody even commented in the D section because it's difficult. I mean, what does a D essay look like? Why isn't it a C essay? And why is it not an F essay? B and D are very challenging. But we have to figure that out because sometimes people get D essays. I mean, it is a grade that can be given. So if we have like formatting, perfect formatting for an A, some errors for a B, what about formatting for C and D? Nobody really talked about that. You guys brought up organization and structure, but only in the A and B category. And so what about C, D, and F? What does F structure look like? F organization. What does an F grammar look like? C, D, and F are missing for grammar. Also, you guys talked about voice, tone, and style, but really only in the A section. So how about B through F? Those of you who haven't commented in the discussion forum yet, what do you think? What does a C voice or tone or style look like? So what you can do with this rubric is just kind of notice the gaps. It's really easy to identify the A's, and it's often very easy to identify the F's, but it's the stuff in the middle that we haven't really talked about. Also, there are a couple things that were either brought up or things that I think need to be on the rubric that I want you guys to address. So transitions, what does various levels of transitions look like? If you have a paper with A transitions, like they're really solid, what do those look like? Are they everywhere? Are they, do B transitions look like there's just too many of them? Also, citations, nobody really touched on that. You guys touched on formatting. I think somebody touched briefly on plagiarism, meaning that would be obviously an F or a 0, because of course my policy is that if something's plagiarized, it's a 0. But what about citations, in-text citations? What if they're perfect? Is that an A? What if there's a couple errors? Is that a B? Let me know what you guys think about that. And then there's just some topic sentence stuff on this bottom page here, the last page. And we talked about what it looks like if there's an F essay, you would not have any topic sentences, but what about the rest of it? Think about what the purpose of those sentences are, and are they doing their job based on an A, B, C, or D essay? So there's still quite a lot of things here that we need to narrow down and before we can create our rubric. And let's see, I think there's like 22 of you in the class. And there's only 3 of you. Thank you to those 3 who have commented in the discussion board so far. So for the next 3 days, I hope I will hear from the other 19 of you. I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you have to say. And I think that covers everything that I wanted to say in the video. So just know that I'm watching what you're posting. I'm reading it. I'm really thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out ways that I can incorporate all of your ideas into this rubric. And it will say whatever you guys want it to say. And real quick, I forgot. We need to talk about weight. How much is each of these categories going to be weighted? That's important too, because you could have an A in all of this and then terrible grammar. Does that mean your essay should automatically fail? I mean, how much is grammar worth, in terms of all these other things? So anyway, let's talk about that in the discussion as well. And now that covers everything that I want to say. So I will see you guys in my next video. I hope that you have a good week, and I look forward to reading more from your discussion. Bye, guys.